Now we are going to cover two general topic today, and then maybe a few Bible questions. All right. General topic number one. Students will always ask this kind of very difficult questions. All right. So the first one is: are genetically modified crops biblical? Are genetically modified crops biblical? Right. So Jennifer, do you know what is genetically? I can't even pronounce that. Genetically modified crops. Okay, no. Okay, genetically, Shama Maria and Shalomia, genetically modified crops are this. The scientists would try and change the original structure of the crop as in vegetables, fruits, all right? They will inject things, or they will perform experiments on it to change the gene. You know, the genes are, I never thought of. Next time I must find out how to explain all this to the younger ones. Genes are what God used. When God created something, within it there are molecules, and how they are formed, they form genes. Not genes, all right? It is Gene, all right? What makes it up? Okay, so genetically modified means what God created, they genetically using science, they go in and modify it, change it, all right? So for example, genetically modified crop can be, how big is an orange? About this size, all right? Genetically modified, maybe they want to make it giant, right? They try and change its makeup, and they will grow differently. All right. If you don't like sour oranges, they can modify it and make it very sweet and so on. All right. Genetically modified. Now, this is different from what is called marcotting. You know, it's marcotting or grafting. All right. So later you study in school. If you have a very nice durian tree, the durians taste very good. All right. Then you have another durian tree. Then they can cut the branch and then they stick it, they tie it together on the tree. Then slowly, the plants that, this durian tree, because they cut the branch, they tie it together, all right? It will take the same nutrient and it will develop and start growing durians on this other durian tree, which may not be so good. Then slowly it changes, okay? Now that is called grafting. Now that's different from this genetically modified crops. Genetically modified crops means scientists actually purposely going in and change the genes so that it grows differently. Okay? So that is, Jennifer, can understand? All right? Genetically modified. Okay. Now, genetically modified crops. Is it wrong? Is it wrong to genetically modify crops? What do you think? It's a difficult question, actually. Genetically modify. Well, some say that because God created something like that, we should not go in and change it. God is the creator, we should not go and change it. Now, some say that, well, fruits and vegetables, they are crops, they don't have a living soul in it. They don't have a living soul in it. So it should be okay. Right? It should be okay. Personally, I really don't know the answer. Right? I tried to find. But I think it will boil down to the reason for doing things. Okay? It is true. There is no soul involved. When there's a soul involved, there's life involved in that sense with a soul. Now, life, does a vegetable have life? Then how come it can grow? In that sense, it has life, right? A tree grows. In that sense, it has life. But when we say life, there's another kind of life that has a soul. All right, a soul. Okay, is a dog a living animal? Of course, right? So is an apple tree. It is a living tree. Now, what's the difference between an apple tree or durian tree with a dog? They are both living things, but a dog has a soul. Okay? A pig has a soul. A donkey has a soul. But does a tree have a soul? No, right? They do not have a soul. They go through the molecule changes and all that, but they do not have a soul. Now, does human have a soul? Of course, right? Human have a soul. What's the difference between a human and a dog then? Is it the same soul? Same soul? Same soul? Now, Jennifer, do you understand? Now, dog is a living thing. Dog has a soul. All right? Animals have soul. Human beings have soul also. Okay? Now, what's the difference between their soul and our soul? Yes, Sama Maria. God created human in His image. How old are you? 8. How come the older ones don't know? All right, that is correct. Now, there's a different soul, all right? The soul of the human being is the only soul that's created in the image of God. Okay, in the image of God. That is different. And the human soul and the animal soul, that's one difference, all right? Now, the human soul, is the human soul eternal? Goes on forever and ever and ever, can never be destroyed. Yes, correct? What about animal's soul? Will the animal soul live forever and ever and ever? No. Okay? They have breath in them, they have life in them, they have a soul in them, but animals, when they die, it is over. Alright? Their soul do not go on living forever. But human beings, our soul live forever. Forever in heaven or forever in hell. Alright? So because of that, we are different. Okay? Now, genetically modified crops. Some say there is no soul involved, and therefore it's okay. Okay? Now, if you create, for example, for food, for better usage of food and all that, if a Christian insists that it is okay, I don't think we can really fault and argue. But now if a person says, I want to be God, I want to act like God, I want to create all these things, and I want to use all this to say, look, there's no God. Human beings can create all these things, use it to prove all that, then it's not good. Then it's not good. Okay? Now that is genetically modified crops. GM foods, they call it, for example. Now, let me see what else.
Is it healthy to eat GM food?
Is it healthy to eat genetically modified food? I think it's not long enough for people to know. It's a recent thing. So usually to know whether it is bad or not, it takes a long time of testing and all that. So far, no one seems to say that there's any particular negative effect, I think. But I may be wrong, all right? I've not fully researched this topic, but what I can say is there's no soul involved, and therefore, if a person does it to feed more people, it's okay, I think. But if a person do it because they want to prove that man can create. Actually, the reality, can you create? Can man create life? Have you heard of this? Have you heard of Dolly? Dolly, the little sheep. I want to say pig. Sheep. Dolly, the little sheep. All right, Jennifer, have you heard about Dolly, the little sheep? Dolly, the little sheep, was created, the world call it created, from just I think the cell of, or a part of a skin or what, of an adult sheep. So no two parents sheep coming together. Okay? It was just grafted, and then they could create it and let it grow and became a real life sheep. And this real life sheep was like any other sheep. Alright? That is Dolly, right? That's Dolly, right? Now, so men say, we can create a sheep. Do you think it's true? What do you think? Amberly, do you think they created a sheep? No, why? What is the definition of create? From nothing, right? God created ex nihilo. God created ex nihilo means God created from nothing. Now that is creation. Okay, that's creation. Was Dolly created from nothing? No. Had to take from the original somewhere, right? In a sense, make a copy of it. Okay, so it has to be created from something. So in that sense, as much as people claim they can create, no, they cannot, right? And God always talk about species in Genesis. Can you turn to Genesis? So all this genetically this, create that and all that, we have to understand from the Bible, no one can ever do what God does in creation. Okay, now Genesis chapter 1, can we read verse 24 to 26? 24 to 26. All right, let's read together. 24 reading.
God said, "Let the earth bring forth
The living creatures after his kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that is creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Okay, so now, can you notice one word that's repeated very clearly, right? Is after his kind. K-I-N-D, kind. Kind here refers to species. You know species? A species is a dog, a bird? No. Both are living, both have a soul. But you notice in verse 24, God simply spoke, right? Did God say, or he took something? No, he just said, let the earth bring forth. He spoke. He spoke them into existence. Living creature after his kind, creeping thing. So living creature, cattle, one kind. Is a cattle a snake? Creeping thing. A crocodile? No, another kind. Can a cattle ever give birth to a snake? Never, right? Never, right? And this is how God created, after its species. And he repeats again, the beasts of the earth after his kind in verse 24, cattle of their kind, things that creep after their kind, birds of the air after their kind. Okay, so God creates through species, out of nothing. Out of nothing. Until today, no man can ever create that. Okay, so now, then the next question is this. What about genetic engineering? Now we move away from non-soul things to soul things. Genetic engineering. Now, genetic engineering, basically they use scientific technologies to change the makeup of cells, transfer the genes within and across species boundaries for improved organisms. All right? Now, what they do is try and alter living animals' structures. Okay, anyone have come across genetic engineering? What they do in school? What do they do? What they try to do?
You try and modify like bits and pieces so that you become more
More what? Improved. All right. So ultimately, genetic engineering is new, relatively, and the aim of genetic engineering is really to keep improving a living thing. Okay, keep improving a living thing until they can produce the perfect living thing. Okay, so now, do you like your eyes, Shalomia? You want to wear glasses, right? Oh no. Actually, Shamamira wish I don't have to wear glasses, maybe, right? And say, oh, I want to change. Now, genetic engineering, what they're trying to create is ultimately a human being that is perfect. No need for glasses. No need for you won't fall sick. It's perfect. All right, every feature of you is perfect. Who defines perfect? I don't know. Is a fat hand perfect or skinny hand perfect? I don't know. But they want to create this perfect living thing. All right, no sickness, everything. So that is what they're experimenting over and over again. They change the DNA and so on. Now, so ultimately they're trying to create that. Now this involves touching souls. Any living things with souls. That is the principle we believe we should not cross. So for example, some people say, I want blue eyes. Well, now what we do? We have blue contact lenses, right? But that kind of genetic engineering, they can change. Yes, you want blue eyes? Okay, your baby will have blue eyes. You want a boy? Okay, your baby will be a boy. A girl, twins, whatever. Short, tall, skinny, fat, black hair, purple hair, anything. You ask for it. Put in your order. All right? Genetically modify. Now, should you modify birth? No. Because who decides your gender? Should men decide? Should your parents decide, I want a boy? And therefore, let's go for genetic engineering so that I will have a boy. Okay? Yeah.
So likewise, if they try to clone a human, it won't succeed, right?
Cloning of human, well, they've managed to clone some living things. And yes, they also want to clone humans. Okay, will they succeed? I don't know. They kind of made from one cell. I can't believe that it can happen. Human beings. I don't know. But I don't know. All right? So yes, of course, these are all the things, the plans, the desires of science. Because they don't believe that there's a God, neither do they care. So, yeah, when it comes to deciding all these things which God decides, we should not go and modify and decide in that sense. Okay? So now so when it comes to genetic engineering, the Christians should not support things like deciding what babies and what gender and all that kind of things. Okay? Principle is, we should be content whatever state God created us in. We just did in John, right? In John chapter 9, right? The baby that was born, the blind beggar that was born, God said, God is the one. Christ said, God is the one who decided that he will be born blind. Okay, God decides. So God is the one. Okay, so no. Now then another question is this. Okay, I think there's much more to study and research in this area, but I think that's enough. The next one is this. Oh, before I forget also, like genetic engineering, they want to create environment that will not deteriorate. Means they want to create a better and better and better world. Okay, a perfect world to live in. Do you think that's possible? Or rather, do you think that will happen? No. Why? Why does Xing Yun shake your head? Why? Why it will not happen? Because of Revelations, right? The world will get worse and worse and worse. Matthew 24, Matthew 7. The world will get worse and worse. Things will get worse. And one day God will destroy it. Okay? God did not say, please make a world better and better and better, and then I come back and receive this world. God said, this world will get worse and I will destroy it and I will build a new heaven and new earth. Okay, so God will do that. Okay, so now, this one thing. Okay. Previous week, we went to UW, we went to Murdoch the other time and gave out tracts for open day, right? There's a stall that was set up. All right, so I was walking around looking at them, then they look at us, and then I didn't really know what they were, and then they walked past our store, so I gave the store person a tract, okay, a tract and our church invitation, and another person say, I'll take one of yours if you take one of mine. All right, so I say, okay, then I say, but you must read ours, and then I will read yours. So, all right, okay, so she took, and we exchanged, and I look at it, organ donation. Organ donation. So there's a question here about organ donation. Should Christians donate organs? All right, so to explain to the Jennifers and so on, organ donation is this. All right, organ donation is not you have an organ at home and then you donate. All right, organ donation is your body parts are made of organs. All right, you have the kidney organ, you have the eye as an organ, you have the heart as an organ, you have lungs as organs. All right, those are your organs. All right, your bodily parts. inside and outside you. Okay, your organs. Now, so they say donate your organ. All right, is it wrong? So, how many kidneys do you have, Jennifer? Haven't studied, right? One?
No,
Two. We have 2 kidneys. How do you know? Your dad told you, all right? Your dad took the time to tell you. We got 2 kidneys. Okay, we got 2 kidneys. Do you need all 2 to function? Dad didn't tell you. You don't need, right? You need at least 1, but you don't need necessarily 2, right? So, okay, Jennifer, you know what's a kidney, right? Do you eat kidney at home? Not the human kidney. Do you all like kidney? Do you all cook kidney for her? No, not popular here. Oh, okay. So kidneys, all right? So we have 2 kidneys. So organ donation societies, they come to you and say, since you have 2 kidney, and Shama Maria rightly pointed out that you only need 1, but you need at least 1, so you can keep 1, why don't you give the other one away? All right? Because there are those people who, they have kidney failures. Their kidney fail. Both kidney fail. And like Shama Maria said, we need at least 1, right? So if both fail, you're in trouble. All right? You can't clear waste from your body, so in trouble. So he said, all right, human, since you have 1 extra kidney, why don't you donate that organ to this person, and they can put it into the human being, sew it up, and get it to work for that person. So each one have 1 kidney, so both can live happily. Okay? Should Christians do that? No. Okay. No, why? It's their body. Should you share your lunch with me? So why don't you share your kidney with me? Because God's holy temple. Wow, this lady is very powerful. Because God's holy temple. Now, okay. Did God say if someone is cold, don't just tell the person, all right, you're cold, well, God bless you, be warm, good night, go away. God say, no, we should help the person, right? We should help the person. Now, the principle for organ donation, generally, the Christian belief, it is okay for organ donation. All right? It is okay for organ donation. Now, the principle is God has given you extra. All right? It's okay. If you can help the other person, it's okay. Okay? Now, so that is when you're living or you're about to die, you carry an organ donor card around, right? So if you say, I'm willing to be an organ donor, you carry a card around. If you get into an accident, and then you're almost dying, but you're still living, all right? Means your organ is still living also, all right? That's when, but they know that you're going to die, and then I think family permission will be sought one more time, and then they will take that organ that you choose to donate, all right? You can choose what you want to donate, all right? Then they take the organ. There are many people who are on waiting list for kidneys, for parts of bodies, all right? So they're waiting list. Yes, Shalomia?
That means like if everyone's on the waiting list, that means everyone has people have no kidneys and they're just waiting.
Yes. So what happens when someone has no kidney? They die. If they remain long without kidney, they will die. But hospitals, they have machines, all right, that they plug to their bodies, and they help to clean the kidney, all right, to keep it as much as it can be used. That's why they are waiting for someone that can give them a good kidney, all right? So they can live, but they're always living with a machine, very expensive, very troublesome. But if someone can donate a kidney, then you can live normally. All right? Answer your question? Okay, so now, so donor organ donation, generally the belief is okay. Okay, we can't find a biblical principle that says no. But then it leads to the next question. The next question is, what about donating your body for scientific research, for research? Okay, Shalomia said no. Why do you think so? You don't know. You just want to say no. All right, so now, who thinks it's okay for scientific research? Who thinks it is not? Not okay. All right, 1 not okay, 2 not okay, 3 not okay, right? 4 not okay, right? The question is, why is it not okay, right? Okay, and why is it not okay? Now, the main problem is this. The main problem is typically, all right, typically when you say you give your body after you die for scientific research, the typical expectation is you cannot define and control what they do with your body. Okay? Ooh. Okay? And the biggest problem is typically after they have, okay, so you donate your body, you're dead, maybe they cut you up and then they experiment all sorts of things on you. What do they do with the remaining part of your body? What do you think they do? Yeah, what do you think they do? They throw in the garbage bin. All right? They throw it into a certain kind of garbage bin, so long as they don't cook it and feed people. Now, they throw in some sort of garbage bin. Usually they what's that word? They burn it up. Cremate. Thank you. Yes. Cremate. They cremate it. Cremate, all right? Jennifer and the young ones, you know what is cremate? Cremate means, it's not that cream you put in your coffee mate. No, cremate, all right? Cremate is they burn the body, all right? They burn the body, okay? They burn the body. They cremate the body, all right? So learn new words, all right? Cremate, okay? Now they cremate the body, and should Christians cremate our body? No. Just now at lunch, someone walked up to me and said, I have a question, a private question, can I ask you? Oops, it's a private question. I'm just sharing it. Right, but it's not that private. It's what we always preach in church. So the person said, I went to my lawyer to write my will. And the lawyer asked me, after you die, do you want to be buried or to be cremated? So she wasn't sure, but she remembered that it was preached on the pulpit. So the person asked me, should I cremate or should I bury? And then I say, what do you think? The person said, bury. I said, do you understand why? Do you understand why Christians should not cremate and we should always go for burial? Shalomia? You're in school, it's like just keep putting out hands. Why do you think so?
Because it's not good.
It's not what?
Good.
It's not good. The standard answer. All right. Now, why is it not good? When you read the Bible, you will see in every instance believers that God mentioned about their death. When God mentioned it, God always mentioned burial. God mentioned the burial of, who is the famous one? After that, they can't find the body. Yes. Okay. But the famous one where God personally buried him. Wouldn't you like to be personally buried? Ooh.
Elijah.
Elijah went to heaven without being buried. It's Moses, right? Moses. Okay? Next time must deduct marks. Deduct marks. For wrong answers. Now, Moses, remember God buried Moses personally. And no one knows where Moses was buried. In fact, God said, I bury him personally. In fact, Satan and the angel, the great angel, can't remember which one, they fought over Moses' body. Okay, Satan wanted Moses' body. Now, if you have Moses' body, what you think the people will do? They will definitely worship Moses' body. God knew that. So God personally buried him in a place where he could not be found. No one knows. Okay? Now, so God mentioned about burying Moses, Abraham's wife, Abraham, Isaac, all buried. As long as believers, you search every single case, you will never come across a single instance when God talk about cremation. In fact, whenever you hear cremation, there are two things in the Bible. One is God's judgment. How did Nadab and Abihu die? How did Nadab and Abihu die? Nadab and Abihu were the two priestly sons, and they offered strange fire, and God sent fire down from heaven and burned them up. All right, very sinful acts, burn them up, burning. When God judges, when God judges the unbelievers, always fire also, right? Always fire, always fire. And one of the things that you read, God says, don't do what the Canaanites do. Remember this morning I preached, God said, make sure you get all the Canaanites out of the land. Kill all of them. Right? The Canaanites have this practice of burning their children. They believe their gods want them to be burnt. So whenever you read the Bible of the practice of burning any bodies, it's always pagan practices. You know what's pagan? Jennifer, pagan means the unbelievers. All right, those that worship idols. All right, the pagan beliefs. So in the Bible, only pagans practice cremation. Understand that? Never God's people. So based on the principle, Christians should not practice cremation. In our constitution, it is written very clearly. Okay, we will not conduct the funeral if it is cremation. Okay, so understand that. Maybe the elderlies in this room, the seniors, the adults, must remember that. All right. So I'm still trying to convince some seniors in church. They are intent on cremation. Today I asked this lady who asked me. So she said, yes, I understand. I said, so what will you choose? She said, of course, burial. Okay. Then I say, well, it's in the Bible, good. But I said, but ultimately, why do you choose? And she said this, which is a very good statement. She said, if I obey God all my life, I obey God all my life, why should I not obey Him unto death? Paul said, in life or in death, I obey God. We often think only in life I obey God. So while I'm living, I obey God. But when I die, whatever. God doesn't want us to be cremated. So even when we die, we should give instruction that even when I die, please make sure that I'm obeying God. Can you obey God after you die? Can. How? Tell your relatives, make sure don't cremate me. All right, bury me. Did Joseph tell them the same thing? What did Joseph told the people? He said, later on, God will take you out of Egypt. Please remember to take my ashes with you. Did he say that? He said, please remember to take my bones with you. All right? So although the Egyptians practice burial, practice cremation, practice whatever, Joseph made sure that he's buried. When he died, bring his bones along. All right? He said, make sure you take my ashes. No. Make sure when we reach there, you burn. Now, this is the idea. So now, I come back to this. I'm digressing, but I want to make sure I cover this thoroughly so that when you all grow up, you all don't think of cremation. Now, so what is the problem with giving our bodies for scientific research? Typically, they cremate. They burn your body. So we shouldn't. Okay? Now, that is one key reason. Now, another thing is, why do people want to cremate? Do you know why? Why? Minus mark, huh? Yeah.
Because they think when they burn it, they put it in the water sometimes, and they think the body will go over.
Yes, very good. How come you know that?
My dad did.
Your daddy. Okay. All right. So, according to the encyclopedias, that is correct. So, like this elderly man, I've been talking to him, convincing him. I say, why? Because there's a Chinese saying, 四海為家. 4 seas become my home. 四海 is 4 seas, 為家 becomes my home. That is the concept. Because when you burn, cremate, then the ashes, all right, they throw into the sea will flow everywhere, right? Go to all different seas. Now they say, but if you bury me, I'm stuck in the same place underground all the time. But if you cremate me, you can go out and see. So they say, what he wants is to get cremated, go out, someone take a boat out to sea and just throw him into the wind. Then the 4 winds will take him all over the world on a holiday. What happens to your soul? What happens to you immediately after you die? If you are a believer, you go to heaven immediately. How do you know? In the story of Lazarus and the rich man. All right, Lazarus went straight to God, to heaven straight away. So he goes straight to heaven. How come this person think that he'll be stuck underground if you bury him in one spot? So I'm forever stuck in this place. Because it's a superstition. So sometimes the elderly, although they are Christians, some superstition remain with them. Hopefully through teaching, they begin to understand and then they move away from the superstition. The main thing is you want to obey God in life or in death. Okay, obey God in life and in death. Okay, so cremation. Understand that? We covered that thoroughly. Any question about cremation? No? But what happened is this. What happened to this? A Christian... Sorry, you have a question? Yeah.
I was just wondering, I just heard that cremation is usually cheaper than being buried.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's the other thing, all right? So, yes, so the other thing is this. Most people want to go for cremation because it's cheaper. It's cheaper to take a space in an urn in a slot. It's more expensive to buy a plot of land and bury the whole body. All right? The land space more expensive. Understand? So it's more expensive to bury. Then after that, there's maintenance also, right? After that, for example, my dad, we bury him. He's a believer. And every month, you have to pay someone to go cut the grass, tidy up the place, you know. So he said, oh, this is very expensive. Buy the land, very expensive. Right? Yes?
Do you have to bury in land?
In your backyard. Bury in the land. Must you bury it in a cemetery or bury in your backyard? You can bury in the backyard. I think you need to get some license. All right? Someone was buried in the backyard, in their garden recently.
I have a question. You know if your loved one dies?
You're on what?
If your loved one passes away.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk to them even though they're dead?
When they're dead, when you talk to them, do you think they can hear?
No.
Why? Because if they're believers, they're immediately with God already. So they can't hear. All right?
They can't talk to them.
Yes. No more. No more communication with the dead.
So we can't.
Yes. Because the dead can't hear you. Right? The dead can't hear you anymore.
We can't talk to them, right?
Yes. No more. Right? When you go to heaven, you can look for them.
So,
Auntie, where are you?
You know when you die, when someone passes away,
Mm-hmm.
and like the loved ones want to, go to visit their grave,
Yep.
and sometimes they talk to them. But are you allowed to?
Yeah, there's a superstition.
Are we allowed to? No.
No point because it's a superstition. Yeah, it's a superstition. Superstition means you believe in something that's not true. They believe that when they talk, the loved one in the ground still can hear. They cannot. They're in heaven. They're very busy talking to people in heaven and to God. And they're very excited there. So they can't hear us anymore. It's just the body rotting. That's all.
And ghosts don't exist.
Ghosts don't exist. Correct.
They're not real.
Satan exists. And his devils exist. All right? They may appear as ghosts. All right? But the dead can't hear. All right, so back to cremation. So it's cheaper and all that. So just because it's cheaper, should you do it? No, because we must obey God in life and in death. Okay? That is the principle. Another thing about cremation is this. Now, what happened if this building suddenly, after lunch, they forgot to turn off the fire, this building catch fire, all of us die now in the fire. And we all will go to heaven, so nice. All right? We all got roasted. We will get burnt. Oh no, I must jump out of the window. I'd rather die jumping out of the window, die on the road, than to get burnt. Because I should not be burnt. How? Now when it's that kind of situation, it is not you choose, right? You don't choose to be cremated. Right? If there's a fire, there's an earthquake, and then things explode, and then you get burnt. That is different. That is different. Can God bring you back together? Poor thing, those burnt ones cannot come back together. No. God is the creator. Even you're burnt to ashes, you rot on the ground, gone. But God can bring it together. So it has nothing to do with I should not cremate because, wow, it's very difficult for God to piece all these molecules together after that. It's nothing to do with that. It's how God shows it in the Bible. It's always burial. Okay, God can bring you back together if you accidentally die in a fire. Okay, so enough of that. All right. So we covered genetically modified crop. We covered genetic engineering. We covered donating our bodies for research.
Is that good?
Okay, so we should not donate our bodies for research because they cremate you after that.
But
So-
we're allowed to we can when we can, right?
We should not donate our body for research.
No, not research, but if other people we can, right?
For donating organs?
Yeah.
Yes, that's all right. Yes, that's all right. Okay, so now those are the three things that were general knowledge. Now we move to Bible questions. All right, Bible questions. So there's this question. Let me see which one to choose. Okay, the person just want to know this. I choose this first. All right, very quickly, just to answer, because every question you submit, I will answer. All right. Now, so the person asks, Acts chapter 20. No need to turn there. Acts chapter 20, verse 4. There is a person called Gaius, Gaius, Gaius. All right, and then in 3 John chapter 1, 3 John 1, there's also a person called Gaius. Two persons of the same name. So the person wanted to know, is these two persons the same Gaius? All right, is it the same Gaius? As far as research shows, they are not. They are not. For a few reasons. Number one, the location. Number two, the time frame in which they lived. And also one was a companion of Paul. The one in Acts, companion of Paul. The other one seems to be a new convert of John. So very different time, with different people. So by and large, most people feel they are not the same. All right? So answer your question? Okay. So that is the reason. All right? So can someone be super confident, definite 100%? No, but by and large, most people believe they are different. Okay? So Gaius apparently is a very common name. In the form of Caius. All right? So next one. What happened to all the Bible questions? Okay, so yeah, this is about the eyes. Yeah, I didn't print it. Do you remember your question about the eye be single? Question Ray? Oh, here. Turn to Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6. Then I ask you all, because you have learned the biblical principles, alright, so try and apply. Matthew chapter 6, verses 22 to 23. Okay, now Matthew chapter 6, 22 to 23. Shall we read together? The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? Okay, so now the person asked this question, verse 22. It says, if therefore thine eye be single. But then in verse 23, it says, but if thine eye be evil. Okay, so what is single? Why don't God say, if thine eye be good? Because the other one he says in verse 23, but thine eye be evil. So why don't say good? Why say single? Okay, so the person wants to understand why God says good. God says single instead of good. Okay, so we always say, when you have questions, when you read the Bible, there are 4 C's. All right? A good C to start with always is context. The context. Context means the verses before and after this passage to understand this verse well. Okay, context. So can I ask, what is the context before? Ray. What is the context before? So whenever you have question, read before and after.
You put your efforts into,
Like
whether you try and build up
treasures.
and on this world which will fade away, materialistic things.
Okay.
Or things
Okay.
yeah.
Right. So about laying up treasures in heaven. That's the context, right? Now, maybe Vincent, you try. What's the context after these verses? No man can serve two masters. All right. So you see the context. What's the context? Now, God say, store your treasures in heaven. Right? Live for heaven. After that, he talked about no man can serve two masters. Okay? So do you think it's beginning to become clear why God would say your eye be single? Right? So apply the principles you learn. Alright? Single means your heart be focused. Your eyes be focused on heaven. Don't get distracted by things on earth, by love of the world. Right? You are very focused. And then he said, don't serve two masters. Re-emphasizes, focus on one. Right? And he said, you look, always focus on one. So God would use the word, if your eye be single. Okay, the eye be single. But it has also a bit to do, as some would understand it, with the way the Jews speak. Alright? So when the Jews hear single, they would also very quickly know that is how they say certain colloquial things. And then so actually the question is more like, but if thine eye be evil, why not say if thy eye be double? Since now God is focusing on single, so it's not so much the question why God used good. It's more like why God didn't say double. Alright? It's the way they speak. It's the way they speak. Sometimes it's just like that. If the eye be evil, in fact this word evil can also mean defective. Defective. If your eyes is defective, can you see clearly? Even you want to focus, you cannot. Right? So that is how they speak. Okay, so answer the question, Generate, alright? Okay, so that is the explanation for this. And then, have a question? No? Okay, 1:30. I asked for any questions from the floor. Any questions in the meanwhile? Yes, Joshua?
On the topic of
Death. Ghosts. And ghosts.
in the witch of Endor,
Hmm?
when she raised up Samuel's ghost, was that more of a demon, not Samuel at all?
Okay, so you know the situation of the ghost. The person that came back to life in Endor, alright, Jennifer, is this, okay? So I'll just tell the story first. Now, King Saul was going to battle, he was very worried, okay? So King Saul went to look for a witch. A witch. These witches, they claim that they can bring souls back from the dead to talk to people. So King Saul wanted to know what's going to happen. So he went to look for a witch, but at the time God made it very clear. God said anyone who visits a witch will be put to death. Okay? So in other words, it means this. Children, God is against you playing with wizardry, things of darkness. You know, there's a very popular game. What is it called now? Say again? Charlie. Alright, you don't know what is Charlie? Good. Alright, Charlie. It is the same when I was young. It's just back then it's Ouija boards. Alright, Charlie. They take pencils, is it? They take pencils and then they chant certain things and then the pencil will move and that kind of thing. They call the spirits up to direct them. Right? Now that is playing with the darkness, witchcraft. Okay? Jennifer, do your friends play Charlie? No. They play Charlie, you run away, right? You go away. Right? Because it's playing with demons. Okay, so to answer Shirley's question, all right, these are evil spirits. All right, so we don't play with evil spirits. All right? Yes, no, very good. All right, so God says no. All the while, for his people never play with any of these spiritual things. So King Saul went to ask. He said, can you please bring up Samuel, the prophet? I want to ask him a question. All right? So in that scene, Samuel came back. Then the witch of Endor, she got shocked too. She fell back. She got frightened. All right? And then Saul was also frightened. Okay? So now the question was this. Is that spirit that came back really Samuel or a evil spirit, a false imitator? Okay, so that's the question. Okay. You know some of this, yeah. Oh, they're called witches. They're real. They practice witchcraft. Back then, there are witches today also. All right? They call themselves witches because they practice witchcraft. They practice all these spiritual things. Okay, like they put curse on people and all that. They ask the evil spirits to respond to them. All right, so it's sinful. It's sinful. Okay, it's sinful. They make use of Satan's devils. Okay, all right. But today it's very popular, right? Because of Harry Potter and all that. It's so cute, right? That's what they do. Now the question is that, is it a real spirit? Was it really Samuel, or was it an imitation spirit? Okay, there are many views on this. One is it is an imitation spirit. Okay, that came back. The spirit knew a lot about Saul, so it could imitate Samuel. Okay, so that's one view. Another view is it is the witch managed to play some tricks, okay, and make it appear. Maybe someone hiding or something, you know. So that's another view. And then the third view, it was really Samuel. Okay, it was really Samuel. Okay. So different views. I take the view that, what do you think it is actually? What do you think? It was Samuel. All right. What do you think? Samuel or evil spirit? Don't know. Why do you think it's Samuel? Because you studied. Because all the prophecies came true, right? So whatever that spirit appeared, whatever he said, came exactly true. All right. Now there are other reasons. So I believe it's Samuel. Okay, you can have your beliefs and you can defend it. Yeah.
When he says,
Shall we turn to the passage? 1 Samuel 28.
and tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. So what is he doing by be with me?
Means basically
Went to heaven.
they will die. Me as in I died. They will die. Yeah. So they know that it's about death, not about so much as heaven, but about death. That's how they speak. All right. So now, why? So one of the reasons is the prophecies came precisely true. That's one. Do you think it could have been someone hiding and pretending? What do you think, Amberly? There was a clue, this like a detective. There was a clue. When the image appeared, the witch was so shocked and she was so frightened herself. So it's probably not the witch trying to create something, right? Some trickery, because she got shocked. Right? So probably she was a trickster, always using a sort of tricks. You know, these witches, many of them, they are false. Right? They know a lot of society, they know people's lives, so they can say a lot of things that are general, that seems true. Right? But this time the witch herself got shocked. Wow, this is real. All right, I never experienced this before. Yep.
Can it be not true? If the witch got shocked, then maybe.
If she was creating a trick, she would not have been shocked. Right? She knew. Yeah, she was shocked because she herself didn't expect it to happen. All right? She was shocked. She didn't expect it to happen. Now, what about the point that is this? Can a person come back to speak to another person? Can or not? Why cannot? Great gulf between heaven and earth. Big gap, heaven and earth. Were there occasions where, in the Bible, where the dead people did come back and speak to people?
When Jesus died on the cross,
Who came back to speak to who?
the dead people itself.
Well, this one is spirit. Those were bodily resurrected. All right? Spirit. Very clear what? Where? Mount of Transfiguration. Remember? Mount of Transfiguration. There were other figures that came. Jesus talked to them. Jesus appeared in his glory. And there were two other figures. Right? They did come back to earth to talk. In this case, to Jesus. So there were evidences of souls coming back. But it is up to God. God chose to send Samuel back. God chose to send those two back. All right? In spirit form. Okay? Understand? So there are cases. So, but if you really you want to insist, no, it is false, it's trickery, it's what, and you have a strong biblical explanation. Well, you're open to your views. We find out when we go to heaven. Okay, Samuel, did you really come back? Okay, so that's the other question. All right. Okay, so I think we should stop here. Please submit your questions. All right, we're kind of running out of questions. If not, I will ask you questions. The better you ask questions. Okay, any last minute questions? We have only a few more minutes. No? Jennifer, all right? Okay, you can submit questions. More questions. All right? Any questions? Maybelline, Mabel, you look like you want to ask a question. No? Okay, let's pray then. What do we have here? Top 5 reasons why church dropouts. What church dropouts say. Why they stop attending church. Now, please remember 66% of, well, I take the American view. They are the most readily available results. They stop attending church at least a year after turning 18. So from